One of the world's biggest events is coming to North America, and we just had some interesting news here on the Sports Cubicle. It's Paul Chivari, I'm Mike Mercado, and now there is some new additions to the coming up 2028 Summer Olympics as flag football, among some others, have officially been announced, added to the Olympics. All the announcements included flag football, baseball, softball, cricket, lacrosse, and squash. Now, there's a lot of interesting things in this new announcement of these games added. And Paul, I know there's some that you want to highlight, but really fast, I talked about this when we were mentioning Roger Goodell's new contract extension and how I believe a lot of owners love Roger Goodell because he's not only the shield for the shield, but the shield for themselves. Mm-hmm. He's the one that takes all the arrows. He's the one that takes all the mud, all the slinging that's held to the league. And the one thing that he's done great beyond just doing that is TV deals and growing the game. And I think flag football, in the biggest event in all of sports other than the World Cup, bringing flag football in there and asking NFL players to be part of it is such interesting and diabolical world domination the NFL wants to worm itself into.
Well, haven't we been waiting for football? And that was the one sport that you didn't see representation in the Olympics.
We'll get into the other sports announced because I think it's super fascinating. I love the Olympics, but let's not get it confused. This season, they try to pretend like we didn't notice that they had back-to-back London games, and now they're going to have back-to-back Germany games, and nobody said a word. We're already accustomed to it. We're used to the 9:30 start time here.
They threw out the London Super Bowl possibility.
It's all happening.
And honestly, I think it's happening.
It's all happening.
It's just a matter of figuring out the logistics, but when they said like a 3:30 kickoff Central Time, I'm all for it. I hate waiting all day for it.
West Coast people have the best sports schedule when it comes to Sundays or the big events.
I don't know about that.
I love a brunch, early breakfast
when it comes
game.
to Sundays, but could you imagine Monday through Friday getting out of work and like the game that you want to watch is already like halfway over, like the big primetime game?
It's a little different in 2023 going on 2024 where you have the technology to watch it anywhere opposed to like 1988 where our dads and like their brothers and sisters actually couldn't, like they were stuck with delays and all that. But let's get into that's a conversation we can have. We can do this all day. Let's talk
West
about
Coast, which time zone is the best to watch sports. Okay,
but West Coast did have some announcements coming out of it. It's these sports. We're talking about cricket, lacrosse. Lacrosse doesn't surprise me because it's taking hold in the East Coast of the United States. So obviously, I think.
Yeah, and I guess I'm surprised it hasn't been involved in the Olympics before. I could have sworn it has, but it's a relatively newer sport. I know field hockey was always pretty popular, for women. It makes sense. All of these make sense. Cricket, flag football, baseball, softball, lacrosse, squash. Squash is easy. It seems like a very LA game. I just think of 80s when like racquetball was like all the rage. Yeah. So I'd imagine that it's like calling it back to that. Baseball, softball, of course, in the United States, there needs to be that. I'm glad they brought it back in Japan for the 2020 Olympics. That was fun to see again, albeit without a crowd. And then this time around cricket, though, that was the one that really stood out to me because not that I'm a huge fan of cricket. I'm trying to get into it. I think because I like baseball, maybe that's why I'm trying to shoehorn cricket into my list of likes. I love watching all sports, but the United States is not the country I would imagine that would be the Olympics that would bring back cricket. And keep in mind, this is like 120 something years ago that cricket was last in the Olympics. And I think it was only a demonstration sport. As far as English imperialistic, countries, that's at least where cricket is popular. But I like the fact that the United States is showcasing this. I'm hoping that we will see some really good, cricketers coming to play in that Olympics. I think all of it, football, you're going to see NFL stars. Baseball, I'm hoping that you're going to see the season stop in Major League Baseball so that some of the better players can go play in the Olympics. And we'll see lacrosse and squash. I couldn't name any professional players.
So we know that it's going to be SoFi and it's going to be the LA Memorial, so the Coliseum. Do you think it's going to be then Dodger Stadium and Angel Stadium for baseball and like squash?
Probably,
and
but
all that?
The nice thing is they don't have to play all of the baseball games in the giant stadiums. For cricket, I think they'll build one. Okay. Because there's no way. I mean, with how wide, because it's like a giant circle.
Right.
I don't think any of those venues could possibly hold it. I mean, we just saw Stan Kroenke with LA. Didn't want to renovate SoFi to have it be a World Cup venue at all. Like not even one of the games. Like and they were gunning for the final,
which is crazy. You would think SoFi, which is built for so many things.
LA hosted the '94 final at the Rose Bowl, so I mean you'd think LA would be in play with with soccer. While we're on it, we're just like the world sports segment here. The World Cup final for 2026. Have you heard of the two finalists?
What would they be?
So can you guess?
So it's North America, right?
Yeah.
So it's
USA,
I would guess it's MetLife or Azteca, Mexico.
Good guess on Azteca. MetLife is one. The other one is Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, okay, I should have guessed. That was very basic. Like the Cowboys one, I'm like, but I wanted to go a little bit more international, pretty big stadium. But yeah, I mean, MetLife, you're in New York. It's a beautiful stadium. Obviously, Jerry World, like,
well,
whatever it represents.
If you're not going to do LA, you got to do New York when it comes to the World Cup.
Yeah, I would think so. Internationally, yeah. But I think, don't forget, Jerry World, internationally, when it comes to boxing, does a lot of great numbers. So if you're just thinking for that,
this is a chance. This is a chance for Jerry World to really step up, and the Dallas market to really step up as being the world class city that hosts everybody for the final.
I'll tell you, as much as and as long as we've done these shows, and now that we're going into another Olympics, this time being a summer one, I think I'm more and more against it coming to Chicago. Just the logistical nightmare, and I love the idea of having a brand new, all specced out stadium. But give us a Final Four. Give us all that other stuff. We don't give us be a location for a World Cup game and stuff like that. But we
baby steps. Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah, I don't need an Olympics in Chicago.
The fact that Chicago hasn't gotten there yet. They had opportunities in like the '90s and the early 2000s to do it.
Probably smart that they didn't, knowing what we've seen around other, especially at that time
thankfully
period.
It wasn't something stupid and awkward like the Cubs playing like in Addison and like a state of the art dome stadium, because that was my idea 10 years ago. I didn't think the Bears would move out of Soldier Field.
No, it's very interesting to see how it's been handling in Los Angeles, everything that's going on in Saudi Arabia with these stadiums. So to see what Chicago will do.
But like when you compare it to all those, doesn't it make you a little bit more embarrassed to be from Chicago, where it's like, why have they not figured this out? Why has this world-class city not figured out their long-term solution to sports?
So it's funny, and we'll just 30 seconds on it, because if we take the bird's eye view, I think for all the faults that Jerry has had, especially just now rotating old U.S. Cellular, Kaminsky, now guaranteed rate, but the United Center is very universal. It's a stadium that will last for a long time.
Yep.
Wrigley, luckily they had the infrastructure just enough to rebuild it. We'll see what happens with new Sox Stadium when it comes 20 years from now, 30 years from now. The Chicago, Illinois cannot fumble New Soldier Field.
Yeah.
You cannot, because that will take you back 100 years. Like,
this is it. This is their chance to finally get the Super Bowl or the Final Four in Chicago, where it belongs.
But we know the Summer Olympics in 2028 will be in Los Angeles, and there'll be some fun sports now added to the list: flag football, baseball and softball, cricket, lacrosse, and squash. And we'll be watching it and gambling on it like degenerates that we all are here on the Sports Cubicle.
Gold medalist Patrick Mahomes.
He's Paul Chivari. I'm Mike Mercado. Let us know what your thoughts are on Twitter as Rob Gronkowski coaches for an Olympic gold medal.